Hello, and welcome to the first session in our weekly What's Up Wednesday webinar series on high-quality instructional materials. This webinar series will take place every Wednesday afternoon through August 4th and will provide insights into Delaware Delivers, which is the state's campaign to increase the quality of instruction happening in the classroom so that students leave school ready for success in college, career, and life. So before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to just have our facilitators introduce themselves. My name is Amy Baker Sheridan, and I'm the Education Associate here at the Department of Education for Secondary English Language Arts and Literacy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Renee Parsley, and I am an Ed Associate also at the Department of Education supporting elementary school mathematics.
Good afternoon. I'm Kelly Carvajal Hageman, and I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for the Seaford School District.
Our objectives for this session are for all attendees to be able to confidently describe what high-quality instructional materials are and their impact on teachers and students, and also describe the efforts of the department to support the adoption and implementation of HQIM statewide. And we also hope that participants will leave being able to promote the importance of providing all students and teachers in Delaware with access to HQIM. We will sequence our time together today by first providing an overview of HQIM, specifically what they are and what problems they're designed to solve. And we'll then showcase the impact of HQIM on both teachers and students. We will then demonstrate how the state is supporting the adoption and use of HQIM in our local school systems. And finally, we'll outline our next steps to scale the use of HQIM in Delaware. At this point, I'll ask Renee to please take over to provide us with the overview.
Thank you, Amy. I'm going to start us off with some background information about Delaware's instructional vision and our focus on HQIM as an important support for providing excellent instruction for every student in Delaware. Delaware has a clear instructional vision. We believe that every student should leave ready for success in college, career, and life. In order for students to experience this success, teachers must provide them with high-quality, standards-aligned instruction every day. In order for teachers to have the knowledge and skills to provide standards-aligned instruction to students, school and district leaders must provide them with high-quality instructional materials and training to use those materials well. So why is Delaware's instructional vision prioritizing the use of high-quality instructional materials? Today, far too few Delaware students are leaving their K-12 experience equipped with the knowledge and skills to succeed. This is partly because many students spend too little classroom time on meaningful work and instead are working on assignments that ask too little of them and don't reflect grade level expectations. And this isn't just a Delaware problem. A study by TNTP shows that in a single school year, the average student nationally spends 581 of 720 hours on assignments that are not high quality or on grade level. However, teachers are not to blame for students' lack of access to meaningful grade level instruction every day. Until recently, high quality standards aligned instructional materials did not exist in mass form. Lacking high quality instructional materials, teachers spend up to 7 to 12 hours a week sifting through low quality instructional materials on the internet or trying to create their own for their students. This leads to an inconsistency in the quality of instruction happening across classrooms, often impacting low income and students of color the most. In fact, this deep-rooted artisan belief that the best materials are those created by teachers is one that is unique to the teaching profession. No one expects their doctor to return to the lab every night to prepare pharmaceutical compounds on the theory that she alone knows what her patients need. The master carpenter begins his day in the lumberyard, not in the forest. Furthermore, when teachers have to pull resources together on their own, they often have little means of knowing if what they found online will meet state standards and actually teach their students the needed grade level skills and knowledge. So how do we ensure that all students have access to meaningful grade level work every day? To do this, school systems and schools need to invest in solutions that are most likely to impact the quality of instruction. HQIM are one of these investments. Is HQIM a magical solution to all teaching and learning challenges? No. But HQIM are created based on research-based practices for teaching literacy, building math knowledge, and teaching students to think like scientists. They provide all students, regardless of their race, economic circumstances, or academic ability, the opportunity to engage in meaningful work every day. Changing to rigorous instruction is hard work for everyone, district leaders, teachers, and students, and results won't appear overnight. Teachers must have strong support from their district and school leaders, peers, and maybe even a professional learning expert to use their materials as intended. When teachers are set up to succeed, students have the best chance of success.
So by now you may be asking yourself, but what are high quality instructional materials? Instructional materials, also known as curriculum, provide a roadmap for teachers on how to plan, teach, and assess student learning throughout the year. And while instructional materials are most often thought of as textbooks, they can also be digital or a series of books or novels and texts. But all instructional materials include a set of student materials such as books, news articles, videos, and assignments, as well as teacher materials like lesson plans, course scope and sequences, and tests. So while all curricula include instructional materials, it's important to note that not all of them would be considered high quality. Delaware defines high quality instructional materials as curriculum that includes a full year's worth of teacher materials, such as syllabi and lesson plans, as well as student materials like books, assignments, and tests. And all these materials must support student mastery of grade level material. These instructional materials are also fully aligned to Delaware standards for what students should know and be able to do at the end of each school year. And finally, high quality materials have all achieved a green rating on EdReports, which is a nationally recognized nonprofit organization that reviews and rates instructional materials. This green rating indicates that the materials reflect evidence-based research on what constitutes good instruction. So let's do a quick comparison to see how new HQIM differ from old curriculum. Prior to HQIM, an ELA curriculum had teachers focusing on teaching specific skills, such as finding the main idea or understanding point of view, rather than helping students build their content knowledge. And you might ask yourself, what's wrong with this approach? Don't students need to understand the main idea of a story? And the answer is yes, they do. But established reading research has proven that this skills-based approach for reading comprehension is actually ineffective in providing students with the long-term reading abilities that they will need as an adult. It's also not a particularly motivating reason to read. For example, we typically don't pick up a newspaper to practice finding the main idea. No, we read the article because the topic is of interest to us and we want to learn more about it. Additionally, these books in the older curriculum materials often employ simpler language and do not build students' background knowledge, which is a proven method of increasing students' reading comprehension. So rather than going deep into a topic from a full book or multiple texts, older materials often provide students with excerpts from books or articles. And finally, these non-HQIM curricula also tend to encourage the use of leveled readers with students. These readers range in level of difficulty from easy books that an emergent reader might need to longer, more complex books for advanced readers. In older curricula, the level of book each student received was determined by the teacher, either at their discretion or based on test results. The use of leveled readers is problematic because it often results in many students never having the chance to read texts that are on their grade level, and therefore they're never exposed to the knowledge and language demands required by the standards at their grade level. So in contrast with HQIM instructional materials, all students in a class, regardless of academic ability, engage in the same book and texts. Teachers are provided with additional recommendations, such as modified tasks or scaffolded questions, in order to provide the additional support to students with disabilities or English learners, so that they too can learn alongside their peers. Furthermore, rather than learning a little about a large variety of topics, students engaged in HQIM dive deep into a few topics or key questions over the course of the year, many of which reflect the culture, race, and socioeconomic status of the students themselves. As the director of instruction in Seaford said, instead of the skill of the week, these new curricula demand that we do all those skills every day. Opportunities to infer, to predict, to connect. It's not something you do for a time and stop. It's something that a good reader does all the time, while also learning about the world in which they live.
In math, non-HQIM materials spend a lot of time teaching content that is below grade level or less relevant to future math learning, which does not maximize precious instructional time. They take a disjointed approach to teaching math topics without helping students to make sense of the connections to past learning and between math concepts. They spend too much time focused on learning procedures without building a foundation of conceptual understanding. Often students use these materials and they don't know why the procedure worked and how the results of the procedure connect to other important math ideas or parts of the problem that is being solved. For example, the student who finds the slope of a line through a procedure but does not understand the procedure or its connection to a context will find it difficult to identify computational errors or apply slope to a real-life context, such as the slope of a roof or a staircase. On the other hand, high-quality instructional materials for mathematics strive to address the shortcomings of the non-HQIM materials. HQIM materials provide teachers with instructional tasks and teacher support and guidance so that there will be a daily focus on grade level content that is most important for students' long-term success. Students will see the connections to their past mathematical learning as well as connections between key mathematical ideas. Students will build a deep understanding of mathematical concepts as the foundation from which to build skills, so that they will be able to efficiently solve complex problems and execute procedures accurately when required. High-quality mathematics materials are built so that teachers can spend more time thinking about how to make the mathematics interesting and understandable for their students. They can spend more time thinking about the strengths and the needs of their students and how they can help students to experience important mathematics in fun, enjoyable, and relevant ways. Next, we will move on to the impact of HQIM. Teachers deserve materials that remove the stress of having to cobble together lessons instead of allowing them to focus on what they do best, getting students excited to learn and meeting their individual needs. HQIM provides teachers with a roadmap of where students need to be by the end of the school year and the tools and lesson plans to help them get there. Ultimately, increasing teachers' confidence in their ability to meet the needs of all their students and reducing the risk of teacher burnout, which is one of the leading reasons why teachers leave the profession. Furthermore, districts can achieve equity for students when each teacher is using different instructional materials. HQIM allow teachers to collaboratively plan lessons, reflect on student work and data, and share best practices across a school and district to ensure the needs of all students are being met. This collaboration around a common set of materials also give teachers the confidence they need to raise their expectations for what students should know and be able to do, ultimately leading to an increase in student achievement. One of the biggest impacts that teachers and school leaders highlight about HQIM is they allow students to engage in the same books or math problems, regardless of their academic ability or any learning challenges they may have. There are supports built into the materials that support these students so they can read Hatchet alongside their peers rather than another book that is at a lower grade level. Another way that HQIM reduces equity barriers in classrooms is that they build students' background knowledge of the world by introducing them to places, cultures, and experiences they may not have had exposure to, given limited financial or socioeconomic circumstances. HQIM not only builds students' knowledge of the world, but they also shift student learning from a surface level understanding of a variety of topics to deeper knowledge of those topics. Instead of excerpts from a book, students are given the whole book. Instead of math tricks, students learn the why behind the math. Instead of listening to a science lecture, students investigate phenomenon by doing hands-on experiments. This results in an increase in student interest and confidence in their learning. HQM offer a variety of supports to teachers as they accelerate student learning. High quality instructional materials and their embedded assessment support teachers in understanding and identifying the academic standards that provide grade levels that previous grade levels are built on. To begin to address unfinished learning, it is critical to understand the concepts and skills from previous grades, as these will be the same concepts the current grade will be expanding on. For example, if third graders are being introduced to fractions for the first time, the assessments embedded in the curriculum should consider both the third grade standards as well as the relevant K2 standards that have led to the introduction of fractions. This allows teachers to see exactly where the gaps are if students are struggling. HQIM also offer clear supports for teachers in supporting students' diverse learning needs. We know that students are individuals and a one-size-fits-all approach does not work. HQIM provide teachers with strategies for sequencing and scaffolding lessons in order to meet the needs of a range of learners, especially those who need acceleration. Now let's take a closer look at one of our districts in the state that made an investment in HQIM several years ago and has since seen impressive improvements in student learning. Seaford School District is a rural school district in the southwest part of the state. Many students in this district live in economically challenging circumstances, and nearly a fourth of them are English learners. For years, Seaford struggled with academic proficiency. They were one of the lowest performing districts in the state and were at risk of being taken over by the Delaware Department of Education. I will hand it over to Kelly Hegman, Director of Instruction for Seaford School District, who can tell us more about their journey to much greater academic success through capitalizing on skillful use of high quality instructional materials.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share our journey. And Seaford has certainly been on a journey. When we started the work of aligning to HQIM, Seaford literally ranked dead last in every single metric for academics. In fact, 2 of our elementary schools were identified as what was called a focus school, as a result of sustained low performance. We were in a position to take innovative action. Our students and the Seaford community were all counting on us to make drastic improvements. Our transformation required support from all the stakeholders, including university partners, school leaders, classroom educators, and families. Even the Department of Education supported us through their initiatives. We found that aligning ourselves to strong HQIM created the conditions for success in our school district. We actually began this journey as a professional learning initiative grounded in the science of reading. And then we began to look at our instructional resources and compare their alignment to the research and, of course, the standards. We soon realized our resources did not meet the level of rigor nor provide the learning experiences that our students needed in literacy. So the rationale for the switch became apparent, and it was clear and urgent we needed to make a change. Dr. Walpole at the University of Delaware had some support to offer, and we went with it. Teachers were invited to try the new lesson plans, and they were excited to do so because they had seen that we needed to do something different than what we had been doing before. We did this all with the aim of drastically improving the literacy rates of students. And finally, it concluded that Seaford adopted bookworms for grades K to 5. Ultimately, we selected bookworms for several reasons. It was based on the best practices from leading literacy research. It placed a significant emphasis on adapting instruction for students at all levels. And our students were provided with a high volume of real reading time. Prior to this, the number of minutes that students actually spent reading in school was extremely limited. Now with bookworms, students have dedicated time every single day to read in school for an extended number of minutes. And finally, and probably my most favorite part about bookworms, is that it includes 265 whole entire books within the intensive daily literacy blocks. Our students don't just read excerpts or pieces of text, but entire books. This exposure to text creates equity, and it's critical to develop knowledge and vocabulary while exposing students to a wide variety of culturally relevant materials. One of the first moves that we made in our journey was to take a very close look at what we were doing to develop literacy. We began with a clear understanding of what the student experience should really look like. And we did that by asking ourselves several questions such as, what does it mean to be standards aligned? What types of learning experiences do students need to grow strong reading skills? How could we support teachers in meeting that student need? How could instructional delivery equip students with the knowledge and practices required to demonstrate deep reading and learning? And finally, we believed it was important to share a love of reading with our students. So, working with our partners at the University of Delaware, we created a vision for what strong implementation of bookworms looks like. Then, we provided the training on the science of reading for our reading specialists because they serve as building level experts. We trained school leaders what exemplary ELA instruction looks like using bookworms. And that probably was one of the most critical moves because strong leadership in every single school creates the opportunity for feedback to teachers so that they can course correct and develop and continue learning themselves. We developed a learning community to support the implementation of the HQIM. And that continued while we piloted units with support from Dr. Walpole. We had a learner stance towards this entire initiative because we were trying things that had never been done before. And all of our teachers bought in to be learners, to learn these new lesson plans and to try new things. And the teachers were thrilled with the results. The deep supports that they received as participating in this project helped them to have clarity in their work, and they saw the direct results with students. And finally, school-based PLCs provide teachers with regular time for collaboration and planning and to review student work. And one of the really neat things is that HQIM helps schools leverage this team collaboration, kind of like a secret sauce for learning. The planning time was no longer spent looking for resources and making decisions about what to teach. Instead, we were talking about kids, their needs, and how to provide instruction to meet those needs using really high quality materials. So you may be asking, what has been the impact of bookworms on Seaford schools? Seaford is now one of the top performing districts in the state. We're leading student outcomes in several grade levels, and especially with our English learner population. Instead of focus schools, we now have 2 blue ribbon schools. The district has seen a significant improvement in student confidence and interest in reading. In fact, the National Knowledge Matters campaign recently came and toured Seaford schools to recognize us for exemplary implementation of bookworms. The Knowledge Matters campaign is a national tour that highlights schools and districts using high quality instructional materials to improve literacy, student engagement, and academic achievement.
So thank you, Kelly, for sharing Seaford's amazing story. Here at the department, we have watched and we have learned from Seaford's journey, as well as from others across the state. And it has led us to expand and further develop our support for the skillful use of HQIM in Delaware's classrooms. So the Delaware Department of Education's role in scaling the adoption and implementation of HQIM is to identify high quality materials that are fully aligned to the Delaware state standards and to incentivize their use in schools and districts. The selection of HQIM and professional learning is left to those closest to students, school system and school leaders. So the department has 3 primary goals to support the adoption, launch, and skillful implementation of HQIM throughout the state. Our first goal is that we want to support all districts and charters in adopting HQIM. Next, we also want to support districts and charters with the resources and incentives necessary to engage in professional learning that leads to skillful implementation of HQIM. And our next goal or final goal is ultimately we would like to create a pool of credentialed content leaders endorsed by the department who serve as school-based instructional and content experts. So to achieve these goals, the department provides school systems with tools, resources, and guidance that will support them in making informed decisions about HQIM and HQIM aligned professional learning. So starting in 2017, the department joined a network of states that were interested in scaling the adoption and implementation of high-quality instructional materials. It was sponsored by the Council of Chief State School Officers, and this network provided the department with best practices on how to support schools and districts in the selection of HQIM and the opportunity to troubleshoot common challenges and solutions. In 2019, the state began to look beyond adoption at how to support the implementation of HQIM, recognizing that teachers and school leaders need and deserve both initial and ongoing training on their materials. And in 2020, the department hosted the first ever Professional Learning Summit that provided district leaders with professional learning on how to support the use of HQIM in their schools. And we also launched the professional learning guide to point them to organizations that they can partner with to provide coaching to teachers and school leaders. And then last year, the department also launched Content Leaders, creating a cohort of school-based content experts in ELA and mathematics. And to further incentivize the use of HQIM, this spring, the department launched Digital Delaware, which is an online hub of high-quality instructional and professional learning resources. So let's take a closer look at one of these initiatives to see how it supports the state's efforts in HQIM. So the department's Content Leader program provides intensive coaching, professional learning, and technical assistance to school-based math and ELA coaches in order to prepare them to become instructional experts in their schools and districts. Specifically, Content Leaders helps teachers understand what to teach and how to teach it within the context of the HQIM they are using in their classrooms. This in-depth knowledge of their content area, curriculum, and research-based teaching practices helps these ELA and math coaches become instructional experts that can then support both new and veteran teachers within their schools and districts with their HQIM. And we can see from these bar graphs that the number of Delaware students with access to HQIM increased significantly from 2019 to 2021 as a direct result of these statewide efforts and the hard work in local school systems. So beyond the increased use of HQIM across the state, educators are also starting to see the impact of these materials on teachers and students. So here's a look at what a few of the educators featured in the recent Knowledge Matters campaigns to our schools had to say.
The Knowledge Matters School Tour visits school districts across the country that are making investments in teaching and learning through the implementation of high-quality instructional materials. The latest leg on this school tour brought us to Delaware, where we saw abundant evidence that such materials are helping Delaware deliver first-rate instruction to its students.
And I think what sold me was my kids' excitement. Oh, I love reading whole books, right? Not just the little excerpts, like how does it end? How does it begin? They read it from front to back, and I remember walking into one class and the teacher was like, it's time to transition. They were like, no. I was like, oh, look at my babies, like they're so excited. So that was the seller for me when the kids, you know, and they talk about the books, like I can go in and say, so tell me what's happening.
I'm a firm believer in if you set high expectations, they're going to rise to it, and that's what this curriculum does. We are teaching them new vocabulary each week, and it's not, you know, easy words. These are tough words that they're learning, and then it's awesome because then they use them. Like the most exciting thing for me is I had one class maybe 2 years ago, and every time any person in this whole building said one of our special words, they raised their hand. So like if they were in the hallway and an adult said, you know, used one of our words like get in your spot, they all raised their hand, and I was like, yes, they're recognizing it outside of just when we're reading our stories. So I've seen them grow so much from setting that high standard that they're really able to kind of push that and keep up with it.
It's brought us together, having one program that to me, that's what's really important. You can really focus your professional development around one solid program. Everyone's talking the same language. And, you know, in education, people are always looking for what's next, what's better, and I've never allowed us to stray from the program. We are 100% in, we continue to do professional development every year.
It is a breath of fresh air to have it so laid out and it be a curriculum that you trust and know that It is so thought out, so thorough and strong that you don't have to think about supplementing here and there, like it's all there. The preparation is definitely a whole lot simpler. You need to know what's going on, of course, but so much less of trying to pull from different areas to have the materials, to have the books, to try to create a lesson that is valuable. It's already there, and you just need to be familiar with it, do what you need to do for your kids with it. But the preparation time, you feel a little more sane, just so much more prepared, in knowing that it is what you're using is strong in itself.
I've taught lots of, books with anthologies and through, snippets of text, in the books that they would give them, snippets of text that you would get into. You would read that text a couple times. You would focus on a skill for the whole week, whether it was main idea and details or making inferences for the whole week. And then, so I've been through all that type of curriculum.
Here at Central, we have about a 27% EL population, so something that might not come up as much, might not be as explicitly talked about, is the children who come to us get a different experience when they read these books. And it levels the playing field because of the background knowledge that the books bring. It doesn't even really have to do with race or socioeconomic status. The things that occur in the books that they read are just human things. So when they come here to us, we're having those rich conversations, and their confidence is being gained, and it's leveling the playing field with that background knowledge. So I think that's an important piece about closing the achievement gap, is your children are coming here and getting experiences that they wouldn't get outside of school, and that's really what school is about.
That was a big part of our professional learning plan for the district, was to first train the leaders and then let the teachers kind of try. We got a lot of people on board with that, just kind of going slow and easing people into it, and that also gave the leadership time to wrap their head around it and to grow strong, so that when we were going to be in full implementation, they were really prepared to guide their teachers. As we started to get some really positive results, other districts started to come and say, well, what are you guys doing? What's going on in Seaford? And that just brought such a sense of pride to our staff, who has always cared about kids, but maybe they just didn't know or didn't have the tools to get these kinds of results, that now they're getting the kinds of results that they know that these students could do.
I think we're growing leaders, teacher leaders, experts in the field. Our teachers have a confidence and a desire to share what they're learning, and that's how everybody grows. I think that it's the conversations and coming out of your comfort zone and constantly seeking new and exciting material and resources that are going to engage your learners.
I get pretty moved by the idea that kids that used to be called slow readers are reading the same books that the advanced readers are. And I think that that's really transformative in education.
It is really inspiring to see leaders and teachers committed to using HQIM and appreciating the power of using high quality instructional materials and noticing the impact these materials are having on students. It is important that every child has the opportunity to learn in a classroom where HQIM are being used skillfully. Now more than ever, Delaware students need and deserve access to high quality instruction every day. Therefore, the DOE will continue its investment in HQIM by providing new resources, tools, and support to schools and school systems. Some of the upcoming supports include our statewide communications campaign called Delaware Delivers to elevate HQIM success stories across the state. This webinar is part of that campaign. We encourage you to follow the hashtag Delaware Delivers on Twitter and help us elevate these stories. If there was something you heard and loved on today's webinar, feel free to tweet it out. In addition to Delaware Delivers, the Delaware Department of Education has also launched a statewide acceleration strategy that offers free access to HQIM for summer tutoring and a Tier 1 planning guide that outlines how district and school leaders can ensure all students have access to high-quality instructional materials. The DOE will also kick off the second cohort of content leaders this fall to train another set of school-based content experts in ELA and mathematics instruction and leadership. All of these resources and those that are part of the Delaware Delivers campaign can be found on Digital Delaware, linked here. A few items currently in Digital Delaware are the 74's blog post about the Knowledge Matters campaign and its recent tours of Seaford, Cape Henlopen, and Brandywine school districts, the HQIM fact sheet, and the Tier 1 planning guide. The What's Up Wednesday session presentations and recordings will be sent to you within the next week and also posted in Digital Delaware. Additional videos and blog posts from the Knowledge Matters tour in Seaford, Cape, Brandywine, and Red Clay will also become available. Additionally, don't forget to join us next Wednesday for the second session in our What's Up Wednesday series on high-quality professional learning. If you haven't already done so, please register today for the upcoming sessions in this series. We will send out a copy of today's presentation and the What's Up Wednesday flyer so that you have access to these links. Thank you for watching this webinar on high-quality instructional materials. We hope it has been helpful in providing you with an understanding of why these materials are important to both teachers and students and how the Delaware Department of Education is supporting districts in their adoption and use. If you are interested in learning more, check out our high-quality instructional materials section in Digital Delaware or email us at delawaredelivers@doe.k12.de.us with your questions. Thank you and hope to see you again next Wednesday.